Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and today what I have for you guys is detailed horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. This is a once a week supplement that I do, and I just wanted to also remind you guys that on Facebook and Instagram I post morning motivation, which is about a 2-minute quick little horoscope to help you get started on your day and give you an idea of what kind of energy to expect. So definitely go and check that out, like and subscribe so that you get all my updates. And also when you like and subscribe, it helps me expand my reach, making sure that anybody who really needs to hear these messages gets to find me. So thank you so much for your support. Really, really, really appreciate it. The big astrological news, I'm going to give a quick little overview as to kind of the general situation with astrology right now, and then I'm going to jump right into individualized horoscopes, and timestamps will be below. So this week on Friday, we have a new moon. And what's really, really special about the new moon on Friday is that it is the Lunar New Year, which we commonly associate with the Chinese New Year. But I really kind of wanted to share with everyone that the reason we have a Lunar New Year is because long before humans perfected keeping track of the sun, it was far easier to measure the passage of time using the moon. We have 13 moon cycles every year, and that was always kind of the easiest way to keep track of how far are we through the year, helping humans know what to expect, helping humans keep track of the seasons, and particularly helping people keep track of the change in weather and approaching spring so that we could plan for crops and things like that. So the Lunar New Year is actually quite significant, not just in Asian cultures, but also just kind of giving us a sense, yeah, we're getting really close to spring. In the British Isles, specifically Ireland, the pagan celebration this time of year is Imbolc, which marks the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So cultures around the world really hold this time of year significant because it marks this change between, okay, we're getting out of the dead winter months and we're coming into spring. And with this time of year is also a sense of quickening momentum. And at the same time as we notice that quickening momentum outside of us in the collective, we also notice it inside of us, a sense that, at least in the northern hemisphere, as we're getting an increase in daylight hours, weather starts to warm up and things like that, we start to kind of wake up from the inside out. It would be really nice if we had the opportunity to actually hibernate during the winter, as our physical bodies would really love if we could do. But because we have this 9-to-5 hustle culture, we don't get to rest the way that our bodies really need to. And so the result of that is that over the winter months, lots and lots of people really struggle with energy. We struggle with positivity. It's very hard to stay motivated and stay positive when there's hardly any daylight. The weather is not very comfortable. So it is a really positive shift when we start to see the seasons change. Like I said, it's going to be something that we feel both outside of us but also inside of us. So the Lunar New Year and this new moon happens on Friday. And typically in astrology, we don't really notice the new moon because it is such a quiet feeling. The new moon is also the dark moon. We don't see it in the sky, and it's not usually an over-the-top energy. But as the week progresses on Thursday, there's going to be a sense of kind of tension, kind of like a champagne cork. If we can imagine, there's a lot of pressure behind a cork. And then we start to feel, I'm using that metaphor because that's what the week is going to feel like, a sense that we're being squeezed. The squeeze peaks on Thursday, and then the new moon happens on Friday. So there's going to be kind of like a light switch being flipped, because last week was really emotionally intense. This week kind of carries over that emotional energy, but by Friday it's like, boom, oh my God, it's this new vibe and new energy. And then next week we have a huge planetary shift with a bunch of planets moving into Aquarius out of Capricorn. So we can definitely look forward to a lighter, more vibrant, more positive energy in the days to come. But I definitely want to give you guys a heads up that this week might be feeling a bit challenging. So on Monday, Mercury joins Pluto. Mercury is our headspace and our communication, how we perceive things, and including how we perceive ourselves. And Pluto is power, darkness, control. It's like our shadow side. So when Mercury joins Pluto on Monday, deep and dark thoughts. We're going to be feeling really, really reflective, not necessarily motivated to do anything, but a sense that we're lost in our thoughts, and our thoughts might not be going to the best places. So definitely practice noticing. It's really easy to get sucked into negative thinking because negative thinking creates negative emotions, and then those negative emotions really kind of suck us in. So the week is going to start with that kind of like, kind of heavy vibe. The best approach that works for me is to really just practice noticing. Instead of being like, I am so depressed, I am noticing really heavy depressive thoughts, really heavy feelings within my body. When we say I am noticing versus I am, it helps us create a little bit of distance. And that's really important to remember. Anybody who practices meditation, and I encourage you, if you don't meditate, please do. It's life-changing. What happens when we practice meditation is that we practice being the observer. And it's a phrase that was taught to me years and years ago by my psychic coach, which is observe, but don't absorb. And that's the difference that really can help us make some substantial changes in our lives, because like I said, there's a huge difference between saying I am depressed versus, I'm noticing some really depressed feelings or really depressed thoughts. And that distance in itself can help us go, I don't like this, or I would like to shift this, rather than the common reaction, which is I am this. It's very hard to shift anything when we see ourselves as that. If I feel like I am depressed, then what happens is we think, okay, I need to be fixed. Depression is real, very, very much so, but it is something that we can distance ourselves from, and we can heal if we're able to say that it's not me, it's something that I am going through. And I really hope that makes sense, how I'm trying to kind of really pull it apart, because like I'm saying, when we identify with what we think or what we feel, it's very hard to kind of shift that. But if we can say, okay, I am me, I'm always going to be me, but I'm going through a temporary experience, that allows us to go, okay, well, this is a temporary experience, even if it's lasted months or weeks or a year. This is something that I have not always been, therefore I will not always be. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps. You know, the reason I create these is because I'm like, this is what I need. I love being able to get an idea of what's happening, because it's so easy to go, oh, this is only happening to me, or this is only something that I'm going through. When I look at astrology, I can go, oh, okay, I'm not broken. It's a matter of me going through something, but that something is going to pass. I'll be okay, right? So that's why I love astrology so much. Wednesday is going to be a little bit of a blip. It's going to go from a low on Monday to a little bit of a high on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the moon and Venus create a really harmonious angle to Uranus, which is a sense of like, okay, I am not my emotions. I am not my relationships. I am not my experiences. I am influenced by all of these things, but I am something that is ever changing and ever evolving. So on Wednesday, there's going to be a sense that we can kind of get our heads above the water and go, this is the way things are, but I also have the ability to change my reactions or change my relationships or change my choices. So that's going to be awesome on Wednesday to get like a fresh perspective and peaceful reflection, a sense that we are able to kind of make peace with how things are. When we struggle against reality, when we kind of argue against reality and be like, I don't like reality, it's a waste of our time and energy. It's a valid observation, but we don't want to get stuck there. We want to go, okay, yeah, this is reality. I accept it for what it is, but it's not always going to be like this, or I'm not always going to feel like this. And that awareness shift allows us to make necessary changes. So Wednesday, we're going to kind of have an awareness of necessary changes and the energy or the motivation to make those necessary changes. Thursday's the challenging day. It's like down on Monday, up on Wednesday, and then a crash on Thursday. On Thursday, the moon joins Mars and Pluto and Mercury, all at the very end of Capricorn. There's a sense of basically that champagne bottle metaphor. There's a sense of basically hitting our limit. Getting annoyed with how we think or how we perceive things, or getting annoyed with how other people think or perceive things. Getting annoyed with how our choices maybe aren't bringing us to where we want to be, and getting really, really uncomfortably but motivated to make some different choices, to change how we think or how we speak, and to deal with any shadow work that needs to happen. So on Thursday, emotions are going to cloud our logic. On Thursday, there's going to be an air of irritability, either in yourself or the people around you. It's a great day for emotional self-analysis, like I said, to be able to be like, ooh, I'm noticing some really uncomfortable feelings, or I'm getting really irritated with myself, or my life is going in a direction I really don't want it to. But the more that we can create that distance and be like, okay, it's not always going to be like this, and I do have the power to change some things, that's the best way to make use of the energy this week. So Thursday is a very restless energy. Thursday is also risk of accidents. If you are accident prone, if you get really, really flustered and frustrated, you're not going to be thinking clearly when you're driving or when you're working or when you're creating a really important email. So Thursday, make sure to really slow yourself down. The impulsive energy could lead to wild rebellion. Thursday is going to be a really intense day, but again, it could also be a really useful day, depending on how you process the emotional information that you receive. And also on Thursday, the sun squares Uranus. So that's a really challenging angle that is going to really bring to light that question of, am I my emotions, or am I a person experiencing emotions? And the more that we can separate that, the more that we can see ourselves as being capable of change. That's what's really important with Sun square Uranus on Thursday, is if we identify with how we think or how we feel or the choices we make, we're not necessarily going to see room for change. We're going to be like, well, this is who I am. This is what I think. This is how I do what I do. Whereas if we see ourselves as a constantly evolving being, we're going to be like, ooh, I'm not super stoked on what I think or how I feel or what I do. I am allowed to make changes. So hopefully I hope you find empowerment this week in the face of uncomfortable feelings or situations. Friday is the new moon. It's going to be in Aquarius. It's going to be a breath of fresh air, a sense that, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of the same old shit, but we can change our reactions or we can change our choices. So Friday is going to be a day of vitality and creativity. The wood dragon is the new year coming through. The Chinese New Year is going to be the year of the wood dragon, which is associated with success, intelligence, honor, and integrity. It's going to be a much more high energy year, and a year of being able to really embrace new ways of doing things, new ways of living our lives, and new ways of dealing with the same old shit. So Saturday, Mercury is going to square Jupiter, which is a really positive influence of being able to be optimistic, open-minded, seeking new solutions, seeking new ways of looking at things, and perhaps even changing who we associate with. You know, one of the biggest things is that, like, if we're surrounded by people who echo our energy, it's very hard to make shifts because our circle kind of locks us into a particular way of being. So sometimes some of the biggest things we need to shift are who we hang out with, who we talk to. You know, like if we talk to a certain kind of person about what we're dealing with and we get feedback or advice, that could make or break our situation. It could either keep us locked in or it could be eye-opening. So that's going to be one big thing to keep in mind this week is who reflects you, who echoes what you're experiencing, and are you receiving feedback or advice or reflections that are helping you or that are anchoring you in a particular way of being. This is definitely a week to keep in mind, how can I do things differently? How can I shift my energy? And sometimes these are big sweeping changes, and sometimes for some people it's going to be just small adjustments. It really kind of depends on where you're at. But let's get into the individualized horoscopes. We're going to be looking at Mercury joining Pluto and squaring Jupiter. We're going to be looking at Mars sextile Neptune, and we're going to be looking at Sun square Uranus. So we will start with Aries. These are written for sun and rising signs. If you know your rising sign, awesome. Watch that one. If you don't know your rising sign, watch your sun sign. If you know both, watch both. Aries, sun and rising. Mercury is going to join Pluto in your 11th house. So this is going to be the kind of experience where you may not necessarily notice or be experiencing a high level of darkness or shadow, not necessarily within yourself, but you might be noticing it outside of yourself. Because for that conjunction of Mercury and Pluto to be in your 11th house, that's noticing dark thinking or power struggles in your community, not so much in your own awareness. But what it's going to do is it's going to square Jupiter in your 2nd house. So there's a sense of, okay, I see this yuck in the world around me. How can I change my values, or how can I adjust my choices to reflect my values so that even though this is happening outside of my personal world, I can align myself in my personal world to really be living my best life or walking my highest path. So Aries, sun and rising, you guys are going to really kind of be put off by what's happening either in your community or the world as a whole. And there's going to be a sense this week that you really want to retreat and either limit who you spend time with or change how much you engage with the community. So for example, what that could look like is maybe watching the news is really bumming you out or stressing you out. That would manifest as you being like, okay, I'm not watching the news this week. I'm just going to stick to whatever helps me align with where I want to be instead of letting that darkness rub off on me. And the shift that you're going to notice with Sun square Uranus is that you're going to feel like, okay, I am a part of the world around me, but if I don't want to participate in the yuck, if I don't want to bring the yuck home, then I'm going to need to set and enforce some really healthy boundaries, like not watching the news or not necessarily talking to vexatious people that really stress you out. It's going to be a sense of like solid boundaries this week. So if you really find yourself struggling with negativity this week, the answer is going to be boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Limit who or what you engage with, and take control over your mental health. Mars sextile Neptune is going to happen in your 10th and 12th houses. So the positive for Aries, sun and rising this week is that your career is going to be looking really good. Your long-term plans are going to be looking good. And you're going to be feeling really positive about implementing healthy changes that are going to work out for you in the long run. So definitely my biggest advice for Aries, sun and rising is boundaries. Don't engage with negativity that really follows you home and sits in your heart. And focus on the future. Focus on implementing your ideals in a way that you're going to see them play out and you're going to be really happy with the results. Taurus, sun and rising. The Mercury-Pluto conjunction happening for you guys is going to be in your 10th house. which means there's going to be a kind of a dark cloud around your career prospects and long-term goals. And it's going to be challenging the faith that you have in yourself. So sometimes we go through these situations where we're like putting our energy out there, we're working so hard to establish this long-term career or plans for the future. And anytime any of those plans or career goals, anytime those don't manifest or pan out the way we want to, sometimes the instant reaction is, I suck. What's wrong with me? How come I can't pull this off? How come I keep struggling? So that's going to be the energy that you're going to be dealing with this week, Taurus, Sun, and Rising, is a sense that something really kind of sets you off and makes you feel discouraged about your long-term plans. Try to avoid coming down on yourself. There's nothing wrong with you as a human being. If you are experiencing obstacles or challenges or frustration, it's an opportunity to think outside of the box and maybe make any necessary adjustments that are going to help you realign with those goals that you have in mind. If you do find yourself really getting lost in a negative self-perception, Sun square Uranus activating the same houses, 10th and 1st, is an opportunity to practice all of the stuff that you've learned over the last little while, all of the mental health, healthy habits, all of the green flags within relationships, all of the methods that you've developed for self-care, self-soothing. That might be journaling, that might be calling a best friend who you know is going to lift you up and put that sunshine back in your soul. Sun square Uranus this week is going to really encourage you to respond differently to the obstacles and the challenges that usually make you go dark. Now, the positive note for you guys this week with Mars sextile Neptune is going to be activating your 9th and 11th houses. So at the same time as you're having this kind of dark cloud over your future plans, there's also going to be this opportunity for you to really tap into a new way of thinking, a new way of implementing philosophies, seeking new information, problem solving, but also crowdsourcing. With Neptune activating your 11th house, you may find that the dark energy that you experience this week is going to help you remember, oh yeah, I have a therapist I can call, or I have a business coach that I can call, or so your exit door from this potentially negative energy is going to be crowdsourcing, thinking outside of the box, reading up on whatever challenges you're experiencing, talking with someone who's going to give you really awesome, wise feedback. So there is going to be a challenge, but there's also going to be an exit door. It's going to take a little bit of motivation and effort on your part to respond differently to this stuff, but that's exactly where all roads have led. Everything in your life has led you to this point where you're like, oh, I'm not going to get stuck in that negative spiral this time. I'm going to respond differently because that negative spiral takes a while to get out of. So you're going to be really, really, really proud of yourself by the end of the week if you are able to respond differently to the energies that come through. So good luck, Taurus. You can do this. Believe in yourself, and please don't beat yourself up when things go wrong. It's just an opportunity to reassess your plans and problem solve in a different way. Gemini, Sun and Rising. There's going to be a little bit of a dark energy around your headspace this week. The Mercury-Pluto conjunction is happening in your 9th house of expansion. So it's going to come through or manifest in a way where you feel like you have limited options. You're going to feel really bummed out, feeling like there's not a lot of choices or not a lot of potential, and you may find yourself reverting to some negative self-perception. You may find that shadow feelings and thoughts are activated in the back corners of your mind, and you may even surprise yourself with like, whoa, I haven't been this depressed in a while, or God, I haven't had this kind of negative self inner dialogue in a really long time. But the way that it's being activated, especially with Sun and Uranus being in those same two houses, ninth and 12th, is going to be a sense of, oh, I don't want to go down this road again. I don't want to feel super grumpy again. What can I do differently? And the thing that you can do differently is not hide your darkness. I have a Gemini friend that is the most incredibly beautiful soul. And what I love about them is that they are openly discussing their darkness. And not many people do that. You know, on social media, most people are like, look at me in Mexico, look at me with my favorite people, look at me living my best life, right? But this friend bears their soul. And the incredible thing about that is that a whole bunch of other people will say, I feel that too, or thank you for sharing. Sharing your journey helps me too. So Gemini, Sun, and Rising, if and when you experience darkness this week, I strongly encourage you to embrace it and share it. Because what's going to happen is either by sharing and kind of getting it off your chest, you're either going to find the solutions yourself, or the people who support you, the people in your circle, are going to offer a perspective that's really going to help things click. So instead of your autopilot being to hide it or suppress it or not talk about it, the exit door for you this week is to say, hey, I'm experiencing this darkness, and kind of put it out there, and you're going to be amazed at how people either support you or lift you up or say thank you. So big change this week. And then the Mars sextile Neptune is going to be activating your 8th and 10th houses. So there's going to be kind of like a side quest happening where at the same time as you experience some sort of darkness and then choose to come out of your shell with it and get it off your chest, the second thing that's going to open up for you is a realization that you're shifting your karma, you're shifting your habitual responses, and a new path moving forwards is going to open up for you. So sometimes when we hide our darkness and we don't tell anybody, we also don't receive useful suggestions. And so that's what's going to happen is when you get something off of your chest, you're going to receive a useful suggestion or some sort of perspective that like literally changes everything. It's going to be one of those life-changing moments where you're so glad that you talked about it and so glad that you didn't just keep it to yourself, because there's going to be a key that unlocks something that you've been struggling with for a long time. It could be money related, it could be career related, it could be karmic patterns related, but something in that realm. So good luck, Gemini. Use your gift of gab and ask for help when you need it. Cancer, Sun and Rising. There's going to be a bit of a dark cloud over some sort of repeating pattern in your life. And so this week, there's going to be a sense of being really bummed out that something keeps happening. Your 8th house is being activated by a conjunction of Mercury and Pluto. So depressive thoughts, negative thoughts, looking on the dark side. And the 8th house is karma, repeating patterns, and sometimes money. So there's a sense you're going to experience something where you're like, this shit keeps happening over and over. And the part that you're going to really struggle with is separating yourself from that. It would help to remind yourself that yes, this has been happening for a long time, but it hasn't been happening your entire life. And so therefore we can assume that if something started, it's also going to end. The thing that you're going to really need help with is that you need a light at the end of the tunnel. You need people to really lift you up. You need some sort of helpful advice or hope that you can hold on to that's going to help you get through this. The hard part is that you're really struggling with hope, because whatever repeating thing has been happening for so long, it's been happening so long that it's hard for you to see that life could be any other way. The Sun square Uranus is going to be activating those same things. And so for you in particular, with the Sun being in your 8th house, one of the most important perspective shifts that you can embrace this week is even though this is something you've been dealing with for a long time, it is not you and it doesn't define you, which is, so any kind of, I want to say mantras, affirmations, any kind of affirmations, any kind of ways of reprogramming your awareness to help you be able to see and speak and believe something into being. So the repeating pattern that's really getting you down, the never-ending situation that's really getting you down, to be able to say, I am not my struggle, I am a person experiencing struggle. To be able to get that separation is really, really, really going to help you this week. And the change that's going to happen is the support that you receive from your community. Whether it is from other people that are going through your situation, or maybe a professional that is able to give you advice or support. If you don't have that community support, or if you don't have professional help to help you get through this situation, now would be the time to seek that out, because there's definitely an open pathway. The thing you need most right now is to not feel alone. So if anything about what you're thinking or feeling or doing is perpetuating a feeling of being alone, the best thing you can possibly do is change those choices to really reach out and receive that help that you really need right now. The positive note that's happening for you guys, Cancer, Sun, and Rising, is Mars sextile Neptune activating your 7th and 9th houses. So that's where your exit door is. Mars in your 7th house is encouraging you to take action to reach out for that support. And then Neptune in your 9th house is going to help you see or understand or approach your situation in a different way. And sometimes when we're so stuck in what we're experiencing, we really, really need that outside perspective, especially when it feels like we've already exhausted all of our choices. We've already, searched for solutions far and wide across the globe. When we feel as though we've exhausted ourselves in our efforts to resolve this situation, sometimes we're like, why even try? But this week is going to ask you to go ahead and try. Go ahead and ask for that help. Seek out that new information. See what you can do to, give yourself permission to let it all out and hold open your heart and your mind to receive help, to receive support, to receive comfort, and to also potentially receive a solution. So definitely a balancing act happening, but the best thing you can possibly do is separate who you are as an eternal energetic being, separate that from the experiences you're having on Earth. Because you are not your problems, you are a person experiencing problems. I hope that makes sense, and I really, really hope that's helpful. Sending you guys my love. Leo, Sun and Rising. Leo, you guys, the Mercury-Pluto conjunction bringing a bit of darkness is in your 7th house. So there's a sense that you're feeling really bummed out about the people close to you. Could be professional partners, or it could be romantic or like friendship partners. But basically, like the people in your life that kind of create a one-on-one situation, people you have really close interactions with, there's some sort of darkness or depression around that. You might have been, you might be experiencing disappointment around a relationship, feeling let down, feeling like you didn't get the support that you needed in a time of frustration or darkness or struggle. And when we don't receive the support that we need in the moment that we need it, oftentimes that turns into a negative self-perception where we're like, oh, well, I don't deserve the help. Or, maybe they think I'm stupid, or so there's a sense that the reflection or the support that you needed wasn't there, and as a result you're feeling really dark and negative, either about yourself or about that connection. The positive, like the open door is reminding yourself that as much as you love and respect these people in your life, they don't define you. And we also have to make sure that our expectations are reasonable. So if we have a relationship with someone close in our lives, business, personal, professional, whatever, if we're expecting something from them and they don't give it to us, a couple of different things could be happening, but one potential option is that our expectations are too high. It's nobody else's responsibility to fix us. It's nobody else's responsibility to fill any kind of gaps within our lives, emotional, mental, financial. Truly, we have to accept personal responsibility for how we feel. And if we've reached out or we've had some sort of interaction that makes us feel really disappointed in somebody else, the next best step is to say, are my expectations reasonable? And if I'm not getting what I need from this situation, maybe I need to create it myself, or maybe I just need to find new friends or new partners or new supporters. So there's a sense that you're going to kind of get stuck in your head or in your heart, but the open door that's waiting for you to step through is changing your choices, changing who you hang out with, and definitely modifying your expectations. With Mars sextile Neptune activating your 6th and your 8th houses, there's a huge open door full of potential and possibility when it comes to your work life, your professional life, your ability to make money. So there's a sense that emotionally and mentally it's going to be a challenging week. But if you channel those frustrations into productivity, you're going to find that this is going to be an amazing week. Sometimes what we realize when we don't get the support that we need is, oh, I kind of need to support myself. Nobody else can make me feel better. They can hold space with me, but they're not going to make my life instantly better. So with the 6th and 8th houses being activated for you, you might find that physical exercise really, really helps. You might find journaling or crafting or singing or dancing. It's time to kind of look within and see how can you fix these problems instead of depending on someone else. Or maybe the tables might be flipped. Maybe it's the kind of thing where you feel like you let somebody else down, but instead of tripping over yourself to fix them or fix their life, it might be an opportunity for you to step back and be like, it's not my responsibility. I love them, I respect them, but I can't fix them. I can't change their life. You know what I mean? So the theme for Leo, Sun, and Rising this week is definitely going to be thinking towards the future and doing whatever you possibly can to cultivate an energy of self-sufficiency and independence so that you're not always depending on other people. Years ago, I ended up being so disappointed in a few situations that I came up with this phrase, and it was, plans that depend on other people are not plans. So if you find that you're disappointed with somebody or a couple of somebodies, maybe kind of take a step back and be like, okay, how can I have my own plan A, B, and C that makes it so that I'm not waiting on other people or I'm not depending on other people? There is a pathway moving forwards that is going to involve healthy relationships and healthy partnerships. And if you're not finding them here, it's time to maybe reassess and look for them somewhere else. Big shifts happening for you guys, but it's going to ultimately work out for your favor. So don't be afraid to, seek new territory or new connections. Virgo, Sun and Rising. Mercury joins Pluto in your 6th house. You might be feeling dark and depressed about your mental health or potentially even your physical health. You might also be experiencing a sense of frustration and disappointment around your day-to-day activities, feeling like you're working your butt off, but you don't really have anything to show for it. Or feeling like your mental health struggles or your physical struggles have been going on for so long, you're getting really, really bummed out and losing hope. So the big thing happening for you guys, Virgo, Sun, and Rising, is that there's a shift that needs to happen as far as maybe doing things differently. One definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If that resonates with you, maybe think about that this week. If you're disappointed in how things are turning out, or you're feeling like your efforts aren't bearing fruit, then maybe change things up. Because if what you're doing isn't working, there's no sense in continuing to do it the exact same way. There is an opportunity for you guys to shift how you see yourself on a day-to-day basis. Shift how you apply yourself. Time management is a huge thing. It's very easy for most of us to say, oh, I don't have time for that. Oh, I don't have time to meditate, for example. I said that for years. There's a funny little quote where someone said, you should meditate 20 minutes a day. And if you don't have time for that, make it an hour. And the joke is that we convince ourselves that we have no time, but how much time do you spend scrolling on your phone? How much time do you spend staring off into space? If you think about it, time management could be looked at, and that might provide the answers to your problems. The Mars-Neptune sextile is going to be activating your 5th and 7th houses. It may help to be more creative instead of methodical. It may help for you to think outside of the box and come back to childhood joys or childhood hobbies or things that you might have forgotten about, happy memories, early inspiration in your life. And also, if you're trying to figure out some sort of career hiccup or problems like that, collaboration might be an idea. There's definitely a need for, like Virgos, it's so easy for you to get stuck in routine and do the same thing all the time, every time. But the big open exit door, it's going to help you really kind of break up the stagnancy you're experiencing, is going to be more creative, more playful, more spontaneous, think outside the box, collaborate with other people. Definitely you got to get out of your head and shake things up a little bit, and that's going to help you step into the next phase and get out of this rut that you're in. So Virgo, Sun and Rising, definitely think outside the box, ask for help, and you can't keep doing things the same way every time. I hope that helps. Love you guys. Libra, Sun and Rising. The Mercury-Pluto conjunction, bringing a bit of darkness and depression, is activating your 5th house. And that could come through in a few different ways. It could manifest in your life by feeling like the spark between you and your partner just isn't there. Maybe you're not having enough romantic time. Maybe you're not getting enough touch or hugs in your life, whether you're in a partnership or not. Maybe there's a sense that you don't have enough time to play. Or maybe there's a sense that you've lost your spark when it comes to creativity or joy. Feeling kind of like a bleh energy this week for you guys. And what it's going to challenge you to do is think about how can I do things differently, and what would I like to see? It's so easy for us to notice what it is that we don't like or what it is that's not working. The shift that you're encouraged to embrace is balancing that out. You guys are the scales. So balance out any negativity with, okay, how can I imagine what I would like things to be like? So yes, I don't like this. Yes, I'm frustrated with this, but what's the opposite of that? If I don't like this being this way, how would I like things to be? And if we can create a vision of the reality or the future that we want, it's a lot easier for us to steer ourselves in that direction. But if we're stuck looking at this is what I don't like, sometimes it's hard for us to see other possibilities. So that's what you're embraced to do this week. And there's also an opportunity for you to shift how you make money, how you share your creativity with the world, and how you energetically interact with the people in your life. So if you're finding that you're stuck in a rut, the open pathway opening up for you, involving the Mars sextile Neptune, is activating your 4th and your 6th houses. So for example, if you prioritize your emotional health and your sense of being grounded and safe and good, then you're gonna have a better idea of how much energy you have to share with the world. If your emotional health and your batteries, so to say, are way down on the list, and the first things you think about are, how can I share my energy with the world? How can I support people? How can I do better at my job? You're missing a really important part of the picture. When we budget for, like bills and rent and things like that, one of the most important things to do in budgeting is think, what is my biggest expense? And then after you budget for your biggest expense, then we start thinking about the little stuff, the luxuries and things like that. So the same thing goes for your emotional and spiritual batteries. You need to budget for your energy first, and then fill in the blanks with what you have left over to share with the world. And it's possible that looking at things in that reversed order might be the ticket you need to kind of shifting these things. So making sure that you set up your personal and professional life with the first highest priority being, how do I feel about this? How much energy do I have to be able to do this? Putting yourself first on the list is going to help everything else smooth out: your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health. So yeah, shifting your priorities is going to have a ripple effect on the patterns that have been repeating so far in your life. You're in a place right now being like, okay, I don't like these repeating patterns. What can I do differently? And that's what you need to do differently. Prioritize yourself first and then figure out the rest. I hope that helps you guys. Big changes ahead. It's going to be really, really, really good for you, especially starting next week. There's going to be a sense of open doors, open pathways, and lots of new opportunities. But in order for you to see those opportunities, you have to give yourself permission to prioritize your energy and potentially even budget your energy according to like how many spoons you have to get through the day. So instead of overestimating, oh yeah, I can totally do that, I can totally work 12 hours, right? Like, no. Balance and modify according to potentially your worst days. What sort of schedule would support you, or what sort of energy expenditure would support you when you have the minimum amount of energy, and then kind of move accordingly. I hope that makes sense, and I really hope that helps. Scorpio, sun and rising. The Mercury-Pluto conjunction, bringing a bit of dark, depressive energy, is going to be activating your fourth house. You may have a sense that maybe because of the winter, maybe you feel like you're stuck at home and you are so done with being in those four walls. You could also be feeling heavy and dark and depressed about your emotional health. You might even have a feeling of like, starting to look at some family patterns, or starting to have a deep look at, how long have I felt this way? What are the early childhood roots of this emotional situation? Or what are the key foundation, like what are the cornerstones of my emotional health? And do I maybe need to clean house? So there's a sense of needing to clean house, either literally or metaphorically, in order to help you be more present in your life. And if you're feeling dark and depressed about maybe the emotional energy that you have, don't feel bad about telling your friends, I can't hang out. I know it's somebody's party, or I know it's somebody's anniversary or whatever, but I need to rest. Work has been stressing me out. I'm just not going to go out this weekend, or I'm not going to come to this big event. There is a sense with the challenges happening in your chart right now that you are potentially prioritizing what other people need, and it's coming at the cost of what you really need. So just like Libra, there's a sense that you guys really need to kind of reallocate and rebudget the energy expenditures in your life according to what you need first. Like, put your needs first on the priority list, and then see if you have any left over to support that friend that's going through a thing, or to attend that big party that everybody wants you to go to. Definitely a low energy week for you guys. So instead of holding space for other people when you just don't have the energy, hold space for yourself first, And the people who love you aren't going to mind. They're going to get it. It's okay. Give yourself permission to say no every now and then. The open door and the positive influence happening for you guys this week is Mars in your 3rd house, sextile Neptune in your 5th house. So even though there are some interactions in your life that just seem to suck the energy right out of you, there's other people in your life that really lift your spirits and really recharge your batteries. So you might want to kind of selectively pick and choose who you connect with this week according to who's going to put the wind back in my sails versus who's going to sink my boat when I don't have any energy to tolerate it. So again, give yourself permission to say no. Give yourself permission to be selective about who you connect with. And by the end of the week, you're going to be feeling a million times better. Sagittarius, Sun and Rising. There is a kind of dark and heavy energy from Mercury and Pluto activating your 3rd house. So your 3rd house is your closest circle of friends. It's who you talk to every day. Could be your siblings if you have any, or could just be your closest friends. But that dark and heavy, depressed kind of energy around your 3rd house could maybe manifest in your life as being like, realizing that maybe your friends are all really bummed out right now and it's not very easy to hang out with them. Or on the flip side, it could be you realizing that your headspace and the things that you want to talk about right now really aren't the happiest, most positive things. Now, here's the thing, Sagittarius. I know you guys like to stay on the light side. I know that you don't really like talking about dark or heavy subjects all the time. You prefer to just kind of shake it off, whatever, it's fine. But this week is going to test you. This week is going to show you how important it is to acknowledge and talk about shadow topics. So where your autopilot might usually have you be like, maybe somebody's like, how you doing? Your real answer is fucking awful. But your autopilot might be, it's fine, I'm good, things are great, how are you? So passing it off and redirecting. So if that's your autopilot, this is a wake-up call that this week you are asked to step out of that autopilot. And if somebody who you can trust, asks you, how are you doing? Please answer honestly. Because what's going to happen is you're going to give yourself permission to be supported and loved. And that's really, really, really what you need. If your autopilot is to be like, I'm fine, whatever, you're going to miss out on a brilliant opportunity to catalyze some growth within your mental health. There's something that you guys have been dealing with for a while on a day-to-day basis. Maybe it's struggle to make money. Maybe your schedule is just really exhausting, but there's something you've been dealing with for a while. And the open door opening up for you is an opportunity to really feel valued, to feel like your feelings are important. Your feelings are important. You matter and your feelings matter. So definitely reach out for that help or answer honestly if somebody asks you how you're doing, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a really big shift where you either receive some feedback or support or advice that's going to help you reestablish a cornerstone of emotional health. So you need that grounding, you need that love. It can't always be you holding space for other people. This week, you're gonna need somebody to hold space for you. So give yourself permission to be loved and supported, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable, okay? And by the end of the week, the energy is gonna shift. You're gonna be feeling much more on point. And there's also something coming through as Mars completes its journey through Capricorn in your 2nd house. You also might be feeling really rushed and really panicked, either to pay a bill or to manifest money. But there's some at-home opportunity that's going to help you make ends meet. Something that you wouldn't even necessarily consider to be like your main job, but if you have eggs in little baskets, You'd be surprised when surprise money comes in sometimes. So maybe a good mantra for you this week would be, I am valued and paid highly for my time, my energy, my skills, and my expertise. Another one is, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. And the universe is constantly conspiring to shower you with blessings. So step outside your comfort zone, let yourself be loved, and this too shall pass. There are blessings coming through for you. So good luck this week, you guys. Capricorn, sun and rising. There is a dark and heavy depressed kind of energy coming from Mercury with Pluto, and it's activating your second house. So Capricorn, sun and rising, you guys might be really struggling with either money or feeling valued. So when your second house is activated by this conjunction, there's just feeling really depressed, like feeling like you're not valued for your time and expertise, or feeling like the bills keep coming, but you just don't have any more time in the day. So as you feel challenged around your values and around your money, there's also a sense that something new is opening up and something new is expanding for you. And that's Jupiter in your fifth house. So instead of doing things the same way, instead of just making a certain amount of money and trying to see how many hours you can fill the day with, this is an opportunity for you to get creative. If somebody had told me 20 years ago that I would be doing my absolute favorite things for a living, I would have laughed and then probably cried, because I used to work boring, awful, tedious jobs just to pay the bills, and then I would do tarot and astrology in my free time. I never gave myself the chance. But as soon as I gave myself the chance, my whole world changed. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys, is that there's a huge high potential around something that you either do creatively or something that you do for fun. And maybe you never gave yourself a chance, or maybe you never thought it was possible to turn that into something that would really actually help you financially. But that's what's opening up for you, is a chance to do things in a very non-traditional way, but achieving abundance and prosperity through that. And it might not be the one-size-fits-all answer to your struggles, but it could be an extra form of income that could change your life. So don't be afraid to do something silly or totally off the wall or avant-garde. That's the opportunity coming through. And with Mars in your first house forming a really beautiful creative sextile with Neptune in your third house, you are creative. And I think a big part of it is kind of seeing yourself in a different light. And again, that's really what shifted for me, is I was like, oh, I'm just the weirdo. Oh, I'm just the woo-woo, like, witch. You know what I mean? I never saw myself as a professional until other people started referring to me as a professional. And then I was like, ooh, well, cool. Okay. So that's what's coming through with Mars sextile Neptune, is that when you take action to be the individual, beautiful soul that you are, what's going to happen is you're going to receive praise and support and really positive feedback from the people in your life. And that's going to get the ball rolling. That's going to help you be like, oh, okay, I can see this as possible. I can see myself as someone who is creative or abundant or able to manifest what I need. So definitely, if you have the opportunity to talk about ideas or hobbies or, potential, definitely talk about it. There's an energy of you being able to share in conversation some things that you're imagining. And what's going to happen is you're going to get encouragement, support, and kind of like a boost of energy to help you take action on these ideas, where before you might not have even given yourself a chance. So Capricorn, sun and rising, if you feel like you're not being valued and paid well for your time and expertise, you guys are the most incredible workhorses in the whole wide world. It's quite possible that you need to find a new employer or a new job opportunity that's going to really reflect back to you the value that you deserve. So don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to look at other options. Don't be afraid to completely switch things up. But definitely the key thing here is seeing yourself as an an individual full of infinite potential. You don't have to stick with what you've already done. The world is your oyster. So try different options and talk with people. You're going to get some amazing feedback this week. Aquarius, sun and rising, planetary party in your sign, you guys. The new moon happening this week is definitely going to be in your first house. It's going to give you a boost of energy that's going to feel like a personal battery reset. A sense that you are able to kind of like close the door on the past year, close the door on some sort of chapter that you've been working through, and really embrace future possibilities and potential. But at the same time as that, there's a sense that there's this kind of dark, heavy energy from Mercury and Pluto that is making you feel kind of depressed or blah about some aspect of your identity. And it might be because someone in your home environment is anchoring you down to a past way of life or a past vibration or a past form of expression. So one of the hardest things if we see ourselves as changing and evolving and doing things differently, if we have somebody in our life that's like, no, you're exactly the same, our little dream bubble gets popped and we hit the ground and we're like, oh, okay then, right? So you want to be really, really careful who you let into your heart, because you're in the delicate beginning stages of a complete and total transformation. But the wrong word from the wrong people is going to make you feel like this big instead of on top of the world. So the challenge for you is seeing yourself as full of infinite potential. But if you make sure to prioritize who you feel emotionally safe with and pick and choose who you talk about your dreams with, that's going to be the game changer for sure. Mars sextile Neptune is going to be activating your 12th and 2nd houses. So there's a sense that like you have dreams, you have ideas, and like I said, it's the delicate beginning stages of a whole new way of life for you. So pick and choose who you let into your sacred space, either literally like in your home or figuratively within your heart. And believe in yourself no matter what. See yourself as full of infinite potential, and maybe even mantras or affirmations on a daily basis are going to help you articulate who you are and what you want and what you're manifesting. It's so easy for us to get stuck in a loop inside of our heads. The reason that mantras and affirmations really, really work is because we're basically reprogramming our brains. So with the 2nd house activated by Neptune right now, if you can speak your ideals into being, game changer. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in your head and you're going to keep living the same life and thinking in the same way. You have to reprogram yourself. You have to be really, really careful who you share your heart with. But the future is full of possibilities. So keep up the good work. You're definitely on the right path. And last but not least, Pisces. Mercury and Pluto are creating kind of like a heavy energy in your headspace, and you might not even be sure where it's coming from, because the 12th house is the realm of all things hidden and mysterious. So Pisces, sun and rising, you may have this kind of vague sense that you're just like bummed or depressed and just not even sure where it's coming from. But with Mercury and Pluto creating a square to Jupiter in your 3rd house, this is an opportunity for you to maybe talk about it, get it off your chest, and not feel so alone. That's what I love about astrology, is I'll be feeling a feeling and be like, and then when I see it's happening in the astrology, I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just me. And that's what you need this week. Some sort of reflection where you go, oh, okay, thank God, it's not just me. So reach out to your trusted friends, maybe even your siblings. 3rd house can be our close circle, our siblings, our early friends. Reach out to trusted company and get some of these things off of your chest. because you're going to receive really, really helpful reflections and support that are going to help you not feel alone, not feel crazy, have your experience validated in a way that helps you kind of get it off your chest, lighten that load, and move forwards with unconditional love towards yourself. Mars sextile Neptune is going to be activating your 11th and 1st houses. So again, we see an energy of crowdsourcing. With Mars in your 11th house, it's a huge indication that the action that you need to take is to basically reach out to your community, or potentially channel what you're experiencing through art or through music. You may even feel inspired to go out and work in your community. Sometimes one of the things that helps us feel like what we're dealing with isn't that bad is helping somebody who's dealing with something 100 times worse. You know, when we help people who are struggling with homelessness, or we help people that are struggling with food insecurity, and then we go home to our comfortable house and our food fridge full of food, it makes us go, wow, okay, I might not be, you know, living in luxury or anything like that, but God, am I ever grateful to have a roof over my head. And God, am I ever grateful to be able to afford basic groceries, right? So it feels like what you guys really need is some perspective. And it might be the kind of perspective that you find in the community. And it might also come in the form of giving yourself perspective within your own timeline. So if you're like, okay, I feel like garbage right now, but I haven't always felt like that, and I definitely won't always feel like this. It might help to be able to look back and be like, okay, well, you know, a year ago, I was struggling in completely different ways. A year ago, or 5 or 10 years ago, you know, if you're able to put things into perspective, you could be like, oh, wow, actually, I have grown. I have evolved. I have matured. I have reached a higher level of success, or whatever personal validation you need to offer yourself. That might also be the exit door from the heavy energy that you're going to experience this week. So definitely, like, don't be afraid to get things off of your chest. You need that validation, and you need that perspective, either offered by a friend, the community, or by just kind of looking at your own situation and kind of putting it into perspective. So, okay, that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so very much for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed these horoscopes. And if you ever want to book a private reading with me, you can do so from anywhere in the world on my website at www.queenbeetarot.net. Thanks again, and have a wonderful week. Happy Lunar New Year. I'll see you guys next time.